can taste your words. I can taste your.
Welcome to the Easy Answer Podcast. I'm Brandy, plant-based chef.
And I'm Vonanise, plant-based adjacent.
On this podcast, we explore thought-provoking conversations around food
and simple ways to stay healthy in this crazy world.
Hey, Vaughn.
Hey, Brandy, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How's your week been so far?
It's really good. It's really good. I don't have any complaints about this week.
That's cool. I will have to say I'm complaining because it was insanely humid outside yesterday. That's a part of New York experience that we haven't had that much of this season, and it really hit me like a brick yesterday when I went out to the grocery store.
I mean, but it's, the end of summer,
Yeah.
as we like to call it. It's Indian summer in the evening. So there's nothing to complain about because in the evenings we have such nice weather. You could go on a long walk after dinner like Dr. Lord told us we should.
Oh, speaking of Indian summer, so my mom is like very animate about how we properly use Indian summer in conversation. So technically, Indian summer does not happen until after the first frost, and then it gets hot again.
Thank you, Mama Cochran.
She will literally, she will go all the way in if you misrepresent Indian summer. I don't know. My great grandma must have really rammed it into her growing up.
That's how you are on vegetables. We know where she got it, where you got it from.
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, we're probably going to be back in the house more as it gets cold. And so, I think after things open back up a little more, people started moving around a little bit. So there weren't as many people sitting in the house binging, Netflix and Hulu shows. But there's always some new and interesting content that exists on that platform. And one of the shows that we are going to be talking about today is a new show called Cooking with Paris. And this is Paris Hilton that we're talking about. Netflix introduced this show recently, like it came out in 2021. It has one season so far, and it's framed around the, I guess, like anybody can cook concept. So think like Ratatouille meets real life. So I love that movie, by the way. If you have not seen Ratatouille, I love Ratatouille.
I can't get my brain wrapped around a rat cooking, so I never.
You know what it is? It is the energy behind the rat and how passionate he is about no one stopping him from his dream, and also the soundtrack, like the fact that it's set in Paris and they have this beautiful music around the whole experience. I just fell in love with that movie.
Okay,
rat cooking or not.
Okay, but a lot of people like that. That's why I don't like Chuck E. Cheese as like your slogan or like your I'm like, it's a rat, gross.
But is it only gross because we know them like to be in New York City subways, like eating pizza and harassing the people? Or is it like
that's definitely what makes it gross because I was born and raised in New York. Mm-hmm. Yes. I still used to walk down alleys when I went to school in DC and think there's rats down there. And they're like, there's no rats. What's wrong with you? Rats,
Got
Speaking of Paris Hilton show, I saw it. I saw every episode of it. I binged it and I loved it. I really did like it. Yeah.
Cool.
Because Paris Hilton is entertaining. She's funny. And, I know people initially hated on Paris Hilton because they were like, she's rich and blonde, And as a Black woman, I never hate on rich blonde people because that's just white world, right? So whatever. But I just think like, even though she's been through trials and tribulations, we have seen this woman's resilience, And she testified in front of Congress like a couple of years back because she was abused at a boarding school. I think it was a boarding school or a camp that she went to try to like stop, others, to try to help other children who might be going to that camp or, to have to deal with that. So that just goes to show you she has grit, And I just really appreciate that about her. Like, you cannot hate on Paris because she's been around so long and just morphed and she just morphed into a really strong businesswoman that's honest now, you know? And why are we hating on her? Just like people hate the Kardashians. Why? For being pretty and capitalizing on it?
But
I'm trying to capitalize on my pretty right now, girl.
what is that hate? Like, who is hating the like, what type of backlash is Paris Hilton getting now? I mean, the last I remember, I can't remember, but I think back in the day, she had a show with Nicole Richie, I believe, and they did some show together. I can't remember the name of it, but I remember them doing random little
Yes.
activities together. So I remember back then, you know, people
watched that show too.
Okay, I can't remember the name.
It was funny.
What was it called?
It was like I don't remember the name of it, but they would go to like different towns in the country and like, you know, away from LA and try to like help the people.
Yeah.
But listen, people said that she's mediocre. Mm-hmm. So why does she have a cooking show? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what that.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Well, I think the point of it was kind of like a meme or something like that. It was the whole idea of this person doesn't even cook, right? Necessarily. That's not what her brand's based around. But she managed to be able to leverage her work ethic, leverage her network, leverage her whatever it is to be able to frame a show around something that she doesn't even like. It's based on what she doesn't even do well, because it's my understanding of the show is that we're exploring her attempting to cook, like her friends are showing her.
Bring someone in to show her how to make whatever,
right? You know? And she doesn't know how to cook. That's the
and she goes off of recipes, and there's certain things that she cooks, but no, she's not like a big cook. No.
Right. So yeah, so that's the whole purpose. It's just like don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself just because you got people like Paris Hilton when this isn't even her lane, and she managed to parlay it into a whole freaking Netflix series.
But as a chef, someone who's trained, does stuff like that get on your nerves? Maybe not bother you, but get on your nerves?
No, you know what? As a chef, it doesn't, because I can't separate my chef from my business brain either. So like, I love to see how people leverage whatever it is that they have to be able to get the bag, as the people say in the streets nowadays, right? Like, I love when people can take their talent and figure out how to make money from it, make a living from it, build their brand from it. I think it's great. So, yeah, and anything that gets people in the kitchen exploring food, cooking for themselves, touching things, exploring. I'm excited as a chef. So if Paris Hilton inspires people, the people that actually like her, if they inspire the people that don't like her, watch the show, and something inspires them to get into the kitchen, I'm a happy camper.
That's true. I mean, I like the episode with her and her mother and her sister was like the last episode. Mm-hmm. And yes, they're uber rich, richer than my family, right? But when you saw them all together, they were just like me and my mom and my sisters, you know, like they had little bickerings. They were just like us.
People, they just got money in their bank account.
Yeah. And I was just like, and the mother insisted on having caviar. You know, she bought caviar. She was like, I need to mainline it. I was like, okay, you know, like, because that's how much they love it. But my mother is like that, in that the things that she likes now, she just like wants to eat it constantly. So I could completely, you know, relate to them, you know, because that's just family. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. So I'm gonna bring in, we have a guest today. You guys know on the Easy Answer podcast, we always have somebody that we bring into the conversation. And I'm gonna bring in Kev to join the conversation and mix up our convo a little bit. So hey, Kev.
Hey, how you doing, ladies?
Good. Welcome to the Easy Answer podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Cool. So let us know who you are, what you do.
I am an entrepreneur, community engineer, working with emerging community and historically disadvantaged Black communities, Black and Brown communities, with real estate and recreational.
Nice, cool. And you also, I don't know if we're rebranding ourselves, but tell us out your former nickname, the pseudonym I met you under.
Oh, the brand man.
Yes.
Brand man.
Yeah.
The brand man. So first off, guys, I know we opened up the conversation talking about Paris Hilton, but we are still in the middle of our dairy free challenge. So I want to talk about that. Let's not forget that we are having a 30-day dairy free challenge where we are encouraging you to give up dairy for 30 days. So I'm gonna do a check-in with Vaughn and then also bring Kevin into that conversation as well before we get back to Paris. So how's your challenge? How's the challenge going, Vaughn?
It's a challenge.
Okay.
I wasn't eating. So for me, the cheese was easy, the milk was easy. Now eggs are in everything.
Mhm.
And it's like now I gotta read labels, find out what eggs are in, order my pad thai without eggs. I mean, it's just ooh.
Got it. But
I'm working to be dairy free.
got it. Well, 16 days in, and you still holding strong. Well, not 16 because we didn't start on the first, started on the 7th. So 9 days in, and you're still holding strong.
Yes, because I decided that was something I wanted to do, and I want to be less nasal. So, Kevin, are you gonna
Got it.
join
And
our challenge?
Say that again.
Are you gonna join our challenge?
I don't eat dairy anyway, sure, but I'll join. Sure.
Wait, really?
so how long have you been dairy free?
It's been a few years now.
But dairy and eggs too, Kevin. Don't play eggs.
I don't eat eggs.
There you go. You and Brandy. Brandy finds all the dairy free people in life, and I'm just like, how could I give up an egg? You know?
It is. It is. I do have to read the back of things like bread and stuff like that. But I mean, now I have certain brands that I know they don't have eggs, or they don't have certain products in it, so it's easier to just stick with what I know.
Definitely, because it's sort of like you carve a lane out for yourself, and you're like, let me just stay with this. You know, that's one thing that I've noticed. I keep reverting to the same stuff. You know, like Earth Balance butter. You know, all of the stuff that I like. You know, I just stick with it.
Got it.
I've
And
been doing with the challenge, Randy.
cool. I'll send you the information.
All right.
Well,
Cool.
you already dairy free, so it's not really a challenge for you.
You mean Brandy or me?
You, Kev,
still
like
gotta
there's some people who are eating
I
it.
have to read stuff though, and when I go out to restaurants, like I went out to a restaurant the other day, I have to ask questions, ask the waiter. Sometimes the waiters don't even know what's in this stuff. They're like, "Oh, I don't know. I got to go ask the chef." So, still, still got to be on my p's and q's.
Yeah, it must be hard in Atlanta to eat like that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Even though it's a better, I mean, Atlanta's the home of the famous Impossible Burger rebranded by the Slutty Vegan.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. It is. I still haven't been there. I'm not even. I still
Yeah.
haven't-
First off, I'm just not standing in line for food. You guys all both know my philosophy around standing in line for food, especially to get a burger. I'm just not gonna do it.
yeah,
But
I can
people,
burger at home. Exactly. So,
Mhm.
but no, it's great. It's a great brand. She's got, I think, like 5 restaurants now. She's at Ponce City Market now. She
Mhm.
opened up a bar where they're not selling any slutty vegan burgers, but she has like cheesesteaks,
Oh
vegan
wow.
cheesesteaks that she does, and like it's more bar food. There's probably like 5 or 6 things on the menu, and then everything else is drinks.
Mhm.
But yeah,
That's
she's
really good.
that brand really admired by what she was able to do. And I think 18 months, she turned herself into a millionaire in 18 months.
Yeah,
I want to be a millionaire in 18 months.
it's possible. It is possible. Cool. Yeah. Cool. So
Did
speaking
you
of,
remember we were talking about Paris Hilton?
yeah, I'll say speaking of millionaires. Well, that's a billion.
I know, multi. Oh,
Right? So what's? Oh, speaking. Did they do any vegan food on this show? Did they explore any plant-based foods in it cooking?
they did. They had an episode where someone came on that was like this lady who impost, and she's in an a lady who like does impersonations. She does
Okay.
impersonations of Paris Hilton,
Okay.
and she tries to cook vegan for her. But before the episode, it was so funny. Paris Hilton was like, "Let me eat some caviar since I'm going to be vegan all day for the rest of the day after this."
Caviar is so. I don't know. We had everybody on this call had caviar before.
Yes.
Never.
It's so. I think it's so. anticlimactic.
Really?
Yeah, it's just like salty bubbles in your mouth.
It is like salty bubbles in your mouth. But, you know, I mean, I think, remember, I used to go, we met in a place at an event where they used to have sandwiches, and those sandwiches had caviar on them.
Oh, I didn't know this. Okay.
Yes, and because you always got the vegan sandwich.
Right.
And so I ate the sandwich with the caviar, and then I ate the sandwich without the caviar, and I will say it was surprisingly more delicious with the caviar.
That makes sense. I mean, only because of that note of salt. So having it on a sandwich, I can see the note of it being like in a collection being really nice, but like the idea of just how it's usually served, like on a potato, like a little potato crisp, or on like a spoonful of creme fraiche, and then you put some caviar on it. It looks pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's.
I mean, but Paris Hilton, she had like a big thing of caviar, and she was like, eating it. And her mother described that when they had a party, she brought the caviar out, and Paris Hilton loved the caviar, and that her sister could not stand caviar. Nikki, it was at the last episode, it was Paris Hilton, her mom, and Nikki, and she was like, she hated it, and Nikki was like, never, that's disgusting. So everyone has different palates, Definitely. But in terms of Paris Hilton's brand, Kevin, what would you say about it?
I haven't heard about Paris Hilton in years. So
really?
Yeah, and I'm
she
really
was a DJ, and she has perfume line. And
yeah. I mean, I know of some of her product lines, but if someone asked me about Paris Hilton, what she does or how she came about, I really couldn't answer that question. Most of the things I saw about her, because I really don't like watch news or reality TV show, was like through the news. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if that was true stuff, if that was just gossip. So I can't call it for the most part. But I mean, for someone that isn't the tax bracket that she's in, she's able to do things like get on Netflix and stuff like that. It's kind of like with Snoop and Martha Stewart when they had their cooking show, right? It's like it just came out the blue. But yeah, I mean, anyone that's into food and like Brandy said, that's willing to, kind of put it out there, whether they can cook or can't cook. I definitely think it's a dope concept, especially to be on Netflix.
Yes, I saw the Snoop and Martha Stewart show as well, and I loved it. It was so funny. You had to see that show. Those two are a mismatch that actually worked. Rick Ross was on there, and he was flirting with Martha Stewart. You had to see that show. It was so, and my mother was like, this is so odd, but this is good though. And they just, you could tell they really just enjoy each other's company,
Yeah, I hear Martha's she's like a real OG. I saw one or two episodes and Snoop was clowning her about, having to go to jail. Like she did more jail time than he ever did.
Yes. And Ice Cube was there too. And out of all of them, Martha Stewart is the only one that went to jail. Okay.
Yeah.
And they were like, see, Martha, they always trying to give us a bad name.
Well, that's another example of reinventing your brand. Like right there. I mean, Martha Stewart went from, what is it? The darling as far as like household things, and she ended up going to jail, and then she had to come out and reinvent herself, and she made it happen. That's kind of cool. I mean, I actually kind of like this conversation around reinventing yourself after after anything. Like we can always come back, which is kind of nice.
Because Paris Hilton, since you guys don't know, let me give you a rundown. All right. She's she was a Hiltonaire. She came out like, what was that, like the Uh-Ohs or whatever. And she was like the party girl on the party scene. Then the sex tape dropped. She was so embarrassed. She was cut off from her grandfather, several years later when she was supposed to inherit, hundreds of millions of dollars. She was cut off. Then she reinvented herself again, even though she was no longer popular. Like you wouldn't see her everywhere in terms of on the media. She still managed to make her brand strong. She had a perfume line and and I would see her perfumes, and she traveled the world as a DJ in different countries, and I even saw a reality, like I watch a lot of things because I make film as well. And they were talking about different people who are in brands, and they talked about Paris Hilton. They say she invented the selfie, right? Which she completely cops to, and she talked about how scared she was, how she's been like, she doesn't trust people. She always has to be out on the road. And this show, the cooking show, is a show where you get to hear about, because now she's engaged. She talked about getting IVF. Um, she talked about her, like, and her mother and her sister were asking her about her fiance, and she was like, he's perfect. He does everything perfect. And she talked about her life. They would call her, like, someone said that they called her Blue Balls Hilton or something. She was like, because my mother said that everybody wants a Chanel purse, but not everyone can afford it. So that's how I treat men, and then Demi Lovato came on. She had different people come on, and she talked about being more vulnerable. Like I said, she testified in front of Congress because she was abused at a boarding school she went to. She put herself out there, testified in Congress so that she could help to stop other people from being abused. So I know Paris Hilton, people don't like her. She gets a lot of heat. But I felt like, why? There's no reason to hate on this woman. She's had a full life. Now she doesn't do that whole boop, boopy doop thing. She does it a little, but she's more of like a full person, on the show. And it's funny. The first episode was her and Kim Kardashian trying to cook. And Kim's like, Kim's like, no, you got to make this. Like, trying to show, I think it was breakfast. It was really cute.
I'm sure it was. Because Kim's famous. Cool. Because Kim's famous for the measuring the water for the ramen episode on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which I thought was very interesting. I don't know if any, of course, I would notice this. She went to make. What did she do? She went to make. Like the oodles and noodle pack of thing, and she got the measuring cup out. She turned around the pack to see how much. And she put the water in, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm just making me a little ramen." And I thought that was absolutely hilarious. Because I'm just like, who measures the water with a measuring cup for ramen?
And Kim was like that with Paris. She was like reading that. Like, Paris, this is not right. She was like that with Paris too.
My question is, why is she even eating ramen? Why? I wouldn't even think that they even know what ramen is. Like really.
It's still ramen. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's they might go out and get hand pulled ramen noodles, right? But when they can't get to whatever place, what is it, Mimosa, I think is one of the famous noodle places. Maybe they just make sure they got the pack of instant noodles in their house. I don't know.
So she was making the instant ramen, like the one with the famous
one with the pack that you open up. There's a square that got the little pack in it. Yes, that's what she was eating.
That's really interesting.
She couldn't get it.
I would go to her house and see ramen. I would be like, "What are you doing with this?"
I mean, I guess it's just like everyone eats everything,
Mm-hmm. Right. When you start, because they weren't. I mean, they were a well-off family, but they weren't the family that they are today when they started. Yeah. So they were probably
she had that little condo, and then you saw them. Yeah, you saw the real estate go up as their money went up.
Yeah. I want to go on record and say I don't know if Paris Hilton created the selfie. I think I created the selfie. I may have some proof that I'll show next time. I never shared this, but when I was in middle school, every time I went somewhere with my film camera, I would literally take a picture of myself in this particular environment. So I may have to come and make the record straight.
Are those selfies timestamped? So you got the
They are. Well, you know how you pull them. You know how back in the day we had to go and literally get film. Yeah, they have them on the back, literally. I don't know if I'm gonna really fight this. It's always that I would always joke about with my siblings.
I'm gonna remind you next time I see you. I need to see some of these
go back and forth between saying Paris Hilton invented the selfie and Kim Kardashian invented the selfie.
Mm-hmm. I mean, now the digital selfie, I'll give them that. They can have the digital selfie. I never did a selfie I didn't do the selfie with my cell phone first.
I mean, it definitely is an acquired skill. You have to get the right light. I'm not always comfortable with it, so I could never take credit as being the one.
No, I'm not saying I implement good ones. I mean, I just took pictures of myself Therefore, it's a selfie. I'm not saying they were great.
I mean, if you didn't perfect it and get your smiles on while you were doing it, I don't know if you really invented it.
Just because it wasn't good, it doesn't mean you didn't invent it. The first person that invented the plane, they still get the credit for inventing it. Maybe it crashed a couple of times, but it still counts. They still invented the plane. They did.
It has to fly, though. It has to fly.
Crash. That's still inventing the plane.
No, Cap, what do you think?
I mean, if it crashed, then they'd be dead.
I know. Then how did you invent it? You attempted it, but that's not the invention. Yes.
No, just because the invention is bad does not mean you did not invent it.
Okay, if they got a patent on it, then does that make it official? Like you have to have a patent on something to say that you were the first person to.
The patent just protects it. You could quote unquote copyright it or just stamp somewhere that you actually did it. And you listen, the quality does not make a difference when it comes to who gets inventor rights.
I'm going to have to consult my lawyer on this and get back to you all later because I don't know if I necessarily agree.
If I invent a cup that happens to be poorly constructed, I can't get credit for inventing a cup just because this version of it was poorly constructed. I get no credit for it. It doesn't count.
It has to work in order for you to be an inventor.
No, it does work. It just doesn't work perfectly. Yes, work well can't be. I'm sorry. Have we seen the stuff that's on the market right now? All that stuff isn't great. It's just there.
Okay.
And then people continue to evolve it afterwards. But the first version, the first person that made it still gets the credit as the inventor.
I'm going to have to consult my attorney about that, Brandy, and I'll definitely get back.
I'm telling you, we're giving too much. What's that called? You just making it gives you the credit. I mean, listen, I'm joking about really attempting to like claim the selfie, the selfie thing. But I will say, like,
thanks for clarifying that.
I'm not going to like make my life mission now getting credit for making a selfie. Like that seems a little silly. But I just wanted to go on record to say I used to take pictures of myself before it became a thing.
So you're not the only one in America that did it, but it's when they coined the phrase selfie. You understand?
No, I get the phrase being coined. That's fine. That's okay. They can have that.
Right, Kevin? It's all about branding.
Yes,
like I coined the phrase. Tell him about the phrase I coined.
Vegan adjacent, plant-based adjacent.
Yeah, I was wondering what that meant when I saw it. Then I was like, oh, okay, you're not.
Yeah, I'm not plant-based, but I'm plant-based adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
Like I try to have 2 vegetables with every meal, and I'm working on getting all the way there. I coined that phrase. If anyone else would, they know this.
Okay, now listen, somebody else, you may have coined the phrase, but there was someone else before you who was plant-based adjacent. That they still can be plant-based adjacent. You can get the credit for coining the phrase, but it doesn't mean that there weren't any plant-based adjacent people before you coined it. That's my only point.
Okay, Bronzy, we're just gonna have to continue this conversation next time.
All right, then. Well, thanks so much for joining us on the Easy Answer podcast. Let us know how we can get in touch with you before we close out.
Email or my link tree, Horton Here's a Who on Instagram.
Okay, Horton Here's a Who.
Yeah, with 2 O's at the end.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you for joining the conversation, guys. And again, this is the Easy Answer podcast, and be easy until we talk again.